Hey, what is up, YouTube? So this is gonna be probably like more of a review and my thoughts on the deck versus like a legitimate deck profile, at least in my opinion, at least. I said that twice, but yeah, because this isn't my deck. I really liked the how Wslasher was performing with his THEGREA list. His THEGREA list looked completely different than like whatever I was playing with THEGREA the last time I was playing the deck. And I was very intrigued, so I'm like, oh, this would be really cool if I just like took this to locals and like recorded it and then talked about like my experience playing his deck. So I thought the same thing would be as justified if I were to do like a deck review slash deck profile of Wslasher's list. Of course, I am going to be linking him in the description of the video. Please check out his channel. He doesn't always reveal his goo or reveal the decks that he's currently cooking, but he is a very good source of Vanguard information, you know, without the BS. But getting onto the list, the first thing I do want to note out was that I would have never thought of this. The Genesis ride line, the 1 and the 2 of the Genesis ride line, yeah, you're not going to be able to proc the 2, because Justice THEGREA isn't a Genesis, but like just being able to top 5 and soul charge 2, like it really melds very cohesively with the deck, because you could soul charge Maples and then soul them out to be able to recall them from the drop zone. You could soul charge your grade 3 THEGREAs, which you do need multiple grade 3 THEGREAs in your soul for this deck to work. Even soul charging Justice isn't bad because you're able to add her back off of grade 2 Maple. I also want to apologize that my voice is a little bit hoarse. I'm not sick, guys. I just basically like screamed my lungs out a couple days ago, so my vocal cords are still recovering. But I'm getting onto Wslash's list. He is playing two of the, because I remember the last time he was cooking with THEGREA, he was doing some like really cool things with the grade 2 set order. But now that we have 50 cards, like it just doesn't, like after playing this list, it just really doesn't feel necessary. Like playing this deck, like it's like a tad piece reliant, but there's so many ways for you to just inherently draw or like dig through your deck for said pieces that it just melts together very cohesively. Two Oath of Vengeance set order. It's what makes the deck go around. You need two in case if you damage one, because without this, like you're just really not doing anything super impactful in the game. You really do need that power stack and the drawing as well. Helps mitigate the cards you discard off of THEGREA's skill. 3 copies of Justice. You want to reride Justice every turn if at all possible. That's most ideal, but I found myself a lot of the times, even if I couldn't reride Justice for the double Persona ride, I was still able to re-ride the opposite THEGREA, either light or dark, depending on which one I used Justice's effect for last turn, to be able to get like the full effect just with like -1 Persona ride. But yeah, you definitely do want to max out on all your THEGREAs. So 4 copies of light, and I don't know if this is going to fit in the frame or not, and, oh, just barely, and 4 copies of dark. This was one of my, I guess, not really critiques, but a little bit of a distaste was that you do inherently run a lot of grade 3s in the deck. Granted, you have very easy ways of pulling these out of the deck, so just like getting clogged on these isn't something that occurs very often, but it is something that can happen while playing this deck. It's just something to note, because you inherently need to max out on all your grade 3 THEGREAs to give you the best chance of just seeing your engine pieces. Moving on to the grade 2s. Oh, and generally while playing this deck, generally you want to superior on your first grade 3 turn, you want to superior ride into light and just kind of like plus soft plus, or depending if you call like what you call off the top of your deck, also plus to your hand at the same time, and just kind of like build up momentum to your turn 4, which would then you would want to ride Justice into superior riding dark. 3 copies of Maple. Again, like you go through the deck very fast. Like there's so many times where I soul charge this off the ride line. I've inherently drew into it. just because of the amount of drawing this deck does when it does initially get going. So 3 didn't feel like it was too little. It didn't feel like it was too much. It felt like the perfect amount. And then 4 copies of Retrospective Dragon. This is your order searcher for THEGREA. Granted, you do have to run this at 4, and another thing that you do have to keep in mind while you're playing this deck is that he requires a THEGREA Vanguard to be able to activate his skill, so you can't do this on turn 2. You just have to Texas hold this guy until turn 3, unfortunately. So more often than not, your turn 2s are looking like maybe you call a Maple and swing, but more often than not, you're just swinging with your Vanguard, I found. And then 4 copies of Drilling Angel. Drilling Angel is just like a very great cohesive piece of this deck, just because it adds on to what you're doing with the 1 and the 2 of the Genesis Ride line, is that you're just sticking your key cards into Soul, and that's why you do need to run it at max copies as well. Now, granted, once you do get the ball rolling, you can use your Soul Charge cards, 2 Soul Charge key grades, like 1, 2, or 3, to be able to add back not only your grade 3 THEGREAs off of grade 2 Maple, but potentially add back front triggers that you could shove into Soul with Drilling Angel from drop, or over triggers you could shove into Soul and buy back with Maple, and the same thing is said with Perfect Guards. Which this is still a very heavy Perfect Guard format, so if you're able to buy back PGs, that sounds very good to me. And then for our last grade 2, something that just like, I really wouldn't consider an engine piece, but it's like a non-engine piece that just melds so cohesively with the deck. Like I knew you play this in THEGREA, but in Wslasher's version of THEGREA, it makes so much sense. 4 copies of Spiral Cutie. The best play that I've done with Spiral Cutie, like outside of like discarding her for Ride, was that I would ride Justice on my first grade 3 turn, Superior Persona Ride into Light, top 5 search off of Light, call Spiral Cutie, I Persona Rode that turn. Not only does it add, like, it hard pluses me to hand instead of, like, soft plussing me just to board, but I also get to look at the top 2 cards of my deck and potentially stack a trigger on top. So, Spiral Cutie is really good in this deck, and it just, like, lets you, effectively use your leftover counterblast, because more often than not, you're just counterblasting 1 a turn. Like, light costs one counterblast, dark costs 1 counterblast, and that's pretty much it. So this just, like, effectively lets you soak up the rest of your CB resources. Moving on to the grade 1s, and this is like another slight critique I found with the deck. Again, you cycle through this deck generally so fast, even like on turn 3/turn 4, which is like your big pressure turn/kill turn is your turn 4, because that's when you're going to be able to get one of your restands off, depending on which light, if you superior rided dark or light on your first grade 3 turn. But another critique that I would have is you're only playing 1 grade 1 Maple, 1 Topaz, and then the rest of your grade 1s are just your Perfect Guards. So the slight critique I was talking about was that in this list you really don't run that many boosters. You're running, damn, is that 16 2s? That's 16 2s. You're running 16 2s, 11 3s, and not really that many boosters. So there was like a lot of times, at least on turn 3, or sometimes even on turn 4, that like I just didn't have effective boosters to call in like those early stages of the game. But it wasn't like something that was like a deal breaker, really, just because you have that inherent plus 30k to the front row, that 15 to the front row really makes up for the fact that you don't have that many good boosters to rely on. Now, again, you can just see these so often because of your deck velocity that like running one of this, like 1 felt like the perfect number. Like, there wasn't a game where I eventually saw it, and even when you don't see it, it's not like a deal breaker at the same time. Like, it just restands with the unit in front of it, and it calls itself from drop, just like the grade 2 Maple. But yeah, one felt like the perfect number. Topaz, you only play Topaz at 1 just because of the way Justice works. Justice binds herself. Like, man, could you imagine if this deck could play 2 Topaz? Jeez Louise. But, this is the normal units slash orders. Getting onto the trigger units of the deck. It's pretty much the same, at least in my opinion, from what THEGREA was doing in the past. Just 4 heal triggers, 4 vanilla crits, 4 into soul crits, just because soul is so important in this deck, 3 front triggers, and then 1 of the blue OT. This can either be the red OT, but it definitely cannot be the Keter OT. Again, your deck velocity is just so insane that you really don't want to use the Keter OT in this deck. And you don't want to play draw triggers either, just because of your intense deck velocity. Not only in just drawing cards, but like searching cards to soul charge, searching cards off the top of the deck. It's just, yeah, you can get to, not deck, because I've never decked while playing this, but you can get to near deck very quickly. But yeah, guys, this is Wslasher's list. Like I'm saying, once again, it was a very enjoyable list to pilot. I would consider it, like, honestly, I didn't give it that good of a ranking on my Rogues Warriors tier list, but honestly, I would bump THEGREA up, at least this version of the list that needs a really good pilot. Like, in the hands of a really good pilot, I think this deck can do extremely well, and Wslasher has proved them himself at least a couple times by just going like straight undefeated for like 2 weeks in a row, I believe, in his local area. But yeah, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about these types of videos. I am thinking about doing more videos like these in the future, that I can just pull like topping lists or like winning lists that don't have like too much coverage, and I can go over them, like my potential thoughts on the deck, and like how it plays and how it ranks in our current meta format. So tell me if you like that on top of the commentary videos. But yeah, guys, y'all have a great night. Later.